Hello everyone and welcome to this video. Here I'm going to be going through the steps on how to deploy the Deep 6 diving bell from the RSV Algari. This is a question I've had on my Discord server as well as a comment on the creation. It's just because the diving bell is in a strange position. It's wedged between some other equipment and the winch is also in a strange position, and I'll show you the steps on how to do that, and hopefully some of you will be informed and others entertained, so follow along. First worth mentioning is that there was an update that had made this ship fairly unstable. It is pretty narrow and pretty tall, so if you get a list like this, don't worry, there is an active stabilization system on the underside that will prevent you from tipping, and also you do have these controls here, so you can actually bring the boat into balance by opening the seacock and hopefully bringing in some water that will straighten out the ship. So as you can see here, we're straightening it out fairly fast. I do have to close the seacock before it becomes too much and overcompensates and tips onto the other side. So be wary of that. You also can see that that was pretty drastic, and now we have our underside picking up the slack and sort of trying to lift us up because we've overfilled that seacock or that bilge tank with opening up that door. Sorry, ballast tank, not bilge tank, ballast tank. Anyway, that is that control there. I'm just going to leave this tank to drain, but in the meantime, you hop into this crane chair. Turn on the display. It says crane not active, so by you turning on this button it activates the camera, and then you use W and S. You use S to position this over the diving bell, the whole gantry crane. Now once you've positioned it over top of the diving bell, okay, just like this, you can now go outside. So we'll take this door down. Now there's a couple things here. First, this huge winch has to take, you have to take the cable off the ROV, climb up this ladder, and attach it to this node here. That's the only way that you're going to power this thing up. Next, we have all these winches up there, so we can find ourselves the ropes. Actually, there they are. So take the rope, and then we'll go back up here. Now it's easiest to position it from 2 points, so that's why you have all these connectors at the top. And we'll grab our second rope, close this little door here, and likewise you could also climb up here, click that, and that right there. Okay, so there you have it. You've now connected the Deep 6 to the gantry. Next, what you'll want to do is actually disconnect it from the bottom. As you can see, it now dropped. And then from this station, you'll actually want to extend the winch cable out. If you don't do this, you're going to cause yourself some problems. So now the winch cable is extended, and then you could go back up to your crane chair. And the moment of truth. So we're going to try to lift this up over the other equipment. You may also have to winch. There we go, we winched it up. And then back to the back of the ship. So you could see here, we're going to be clearing this equipment. Obviously our active system is engaged. Like I said, it's just a glitch of the new update. It kind of broke it. And now that we're back there, we could tip it over slowly, and then lower it into the water as well. So we press 6 and it drops into the water. Now because it's already connected to that big winch that you see with the whole cable dangling below, all you got to do now is go to this. Actually, I would recommend lowering the gantry crane. It's going to be easier to reach the cables. So we'll bring that in, just like that. And then we go down. So you don't actually have to take this equipment, the rib and the mini sub out to deploy this. And then you just come up here and detach this and put it into here. That's why these places are there. Detach and place up there. We're kind of bobbing up and down. So there you have it. You've now deployed the ROV, or the Deep 6 diving bell. It's attached to that winch there. And now you're ready to leave the ship. So you can now get into here. I do recommend taking some diving gear because we'll have to enter it from the bottom. And note, as long as you've attached this cable to that winch, the blue cable, then you'll get this power. Otherwise, you will not get the right power. It does have a small battery. Okay, we now hop into this airlock. It should automatically close. And we're good to now hop into the main cabin. You do have to kind of jump up and move quick, or just sit onto the chair. This is going to close itself. And there you have it. So there is actually a lot of equipment. You don't need it anymore. You really needed it just to get into that airlock chamber. You could probably do it without the procedure, or without using that. Anyway, now that you're here inside, you can now flood the compartment. So to flood the compartment is how it's going to drop. So you go in back into here and you open this up. You can't have both systems open at the same time. So now this whole compartment is flooded, as you can see. And then you can get into the top bit. And now the nice thing is that we're sinking. So the weight of the diving bell automatically starts to sink once that airlock chamber is full of water. Now, just so we don't hit this shipwreck, I would also want to raise some of the cable. Now it does raise very fast, so you kind of want to tap it. Otherwise, it'll end up yanking you. Just like that. So it's okay that it yanked us a little. We should now be dropping next to the shipwreck site, which is actually perfect. That's where I wanted to go. So you could take this thing off, get a better view. Now, the nice thing is that I will show you, there is a camera in here and a camera on the exterior of the diving bell, and they are feeding directly into the mothership. So now we could actually lower ourselves a little bit. You do have this, so if you are using it or playing in the mode where you can't go to this outside view, you do have a little sensor here that says distance to bottom and depth, so you can keep lowering the diving bell until you've touched the bottom. Also, you'll want to extend the legs out. So you see how the legs are extended now, and they even have magulls on the bottom of those legs, so you can secure yourself to the ground. So we'll just drop ourselves until our magulls are connected. So there you have it. That is how to deploy the diving bell to the seafloor. As you can see now, you have your exterior spotlights and your exterior lights, so you can illuminate the whole area. And the nice thing is, you pop on your diving gear, you head into the chamber, and this is how you can now explore shipwrecks, but have a oxygen supply nice and close. So this is my favorite way to explore shipwrecks, especially if you want to dive through them. It's a different feeling than if you're using an ROV, if you're diving through shipwrecks. It's a big hole, and there's our treasure loot. All the way at the front of this hold, which is a-okay. We'll connect the loot. 10,000, that's a good amount. And head back out. And back to our diving bell. And it waits for us right there, all illuminated and perfect. So, you see the mothership up there. And you have your bell here. Now there are controls on the exterior, like this. Hold open to outside airlock for filling and draining. So that's actually how I should have filled it. But I wanted to do it from the inside so it wouldn't sink without me. Also, this door is locked when it's deployed. You have to force it open with the manual override, and then it will also start to flood your compartment, which is not great. So that's it. We've now explored this shipwreck. You're back in here, and now we can plan on how to bring ourselves back up to the surface and get this thing back on the deck of the ship. The first step you'll want to do to get this diving bell back up to the surface, you'll turn off your magulls connecting you to the seafloor, and now we will raise ourselves. Now, just how you saw how fast this thing goes, you got to be really careful when raising the diving bell. You'll want to monitor your depth gauge, because you definitely don't want to hit the bottom of your ship. This is something I've done many times. A little bit more. And there we had it. So we now nailed the bottom of the ship and we're falling to the bottom. That is not how to do it. So be wary of that. And actually I may update the game further, or update the ship, to prevent this type of thing from happening again. Now, to bring back the Deep 6 onto the Algari, it's a process in itself. So as you can see, you cannot lift it directly up into the ship hull. It's in a weird position, so you almost have to do the reverse. Now, this is where having a diving team helps, or if you're by yourself, that's fine too, but this is how you got to do it. So you got to leave the diving bell, open this up, and head up to the ship. When you're at the ship, you go to your gantry crane where you left these cables, and you go back up and collect your cables, and then you go back to the diving bell, and you got to start manually attaching the cables. Now, what I like to do first is actually just attach it to one of the simple points of connection rather than the whole crane. You just got to be careful of those propellers spinning on the bottom, but you could come up here and you'll attach it to any one of these. Now, this is where climbing up on this thing helps. Now note, it's kind of pulling us back, so you just have to bear with it as you try to jump up to a part where you can attach this cable. So not like that. Not quite sure why we can't climb up onto those ladders right now. No matter. What I'm going to do actually is just connect the winch, connect it to this, okay? Even if you connect it to that, so say you can't get it to work to the winch, you connect it to that, and then you'll actually go and release this. So you just click on it and then scroll your mouse up. Now your cable is no longer connected to that ROV, or the diving bell. It's now only connected to this point, so it should be right now beneath us. Okay. It's good that it's beneath us, because now we can actually extend our crane. So that's what I forgot to do. If you come here, you may want to drop your crane down all the way so it's easy for you to reach those winches. Okay, you've now dropped it all the way, and then you go back outside. I just disconnected that jib crane. It was glitching a bit and moving around. Now it's at least hopefully not causing any more phantom physics. Perfect. So grab this rope. Make sure whatever you do, do not disconnect that rope. If you disconnect that, if you grab it to hold it, this whole thing is going to be attached literally only to you, and you're going to go down to the seafloor. So make sure you take this one, and let's position it here, and then we got to go down and attach it to this, and now you can disconnect that and reconnect it as necessary. So if you scroll, like I said, and attach it, and then you go back up, we'll attach it to the other side winch. Okay, there we go. So now that's pretty much ready for us to pick it up. Like I said, if you have a crew, it goes a little faster, but if you're playing by yourself, it still works. Okay, we could switch cranes, so now we're watching it, switching crane cameras, and then you slowly winch it in. Now, let's see how fast this goes. Okay, that's a bit better speed. It doesn't fly up and smoke the ship like the other one does. Alright, almost there. And then we can actually start to raise this up. And we've done it. It's out of the water. And then you follow literally the same steps to put it back on the ship. You just raise this up. You clear the rib and the mini sub and position it where you need to be. Now, actually, see how we started to sink? I did forget a step. You'll want to, as soon as possible, drain that water from here. So you can see that it's full of water. That's no good for us. That's going to cause our ship to want to sink. Now, the only way we can really drain it is by lifting it out of the water right now and pressing that button. So it does help if you actually have that button toggled from the get-go. And by button, I mean this button here on the side. So drain. And you can see the water draining out. And our whole ship starts to right itself, so it's no longer sinking. So you'll want to have that on as you're lifting this out of the water. So I forgot that step. And now it is good to bring up. You can lift it up the remainder of the way and bring it back into position and all that good stuff. So hopefully that explains how to deploy and retrieve the Deep 6 from the Algari. And if you have any questions, make sure to put them on the comments. If you have suggestions or other things, feel free to talk with me about them on my Discord or on my YouTube or whatever. I love hearing feedback. I love hearing from you guys. So thank you so much for the support, and make sure to stay tuned for more content and more creations coming up soon. Happy Stormworksing, everyone.